recognize the importance of language to the development of human identity, evolution, and the maintenance of society and culture. And I value verbal behavior, as I value human behavior, and I believe it can be studied in the same regard. We need something better than what is currently available. Your entire field and your notions of verbal behavior only carry the appearance of a rigorous science. Listen, verbal behavior should be studied as verbal operants, which are determined by identifying functional relationships between verbal behavior and the environment. Verbal operants are contingencies of three terms: a discriminative stimulus, a response, and reinforcement. No way! Natural language has a deep structure. Speech is such a complex behavior that you can't simply explain it using your principles of behavior. Looking only at the function of behavior is too simplistic. In order to completely understand speech, you have to have a complex mediational and neurological genetic theory to back it up, with actual empirical evidence at that. In my work, I state that multiple behavior laws act together to form a verbal behavior unit, and that one law alone does not explain a particular aspect of a verbal episode. In regards to mediational terms, I call my laws functional because they describe direct relations between variables. You don't know what you're talking about, and your functional research of verbal behavior is merely an untested hypothesis that has no credibility. You're right, it is a hypothesis, but it is explained by empirically validated laws of behavior. Well, I hate your functional definition of reinforcement, and so do all my friends. Well, reinforcers reinforce, whether you like them to or not, my buddy. You use your technical terms carelessly, and are simply paraphrasing previous ideas to create new verbal behavior processes. You say that yours are more objective than the original terms that all linguists, anthropologists, and psychologists use, but they're not. Every term I use in my book accounts for a real relationship and principle which has to be involved in any verbal event. Furthermore, I never denied that there was a neurological genetic mediation entity. I believe that these mediators cannot be trained. They're pre-programmed, hardwired into everybody's brain. I mean, how would that fit into your reinforcement theory? Genetically predetermined behavior is what does not have to be learned. However, all behavior is still affected in some way by reinforcement, even the supposedly hardwired ones. Okay, then let's talk about your so-called tax. Where's the reference? If something is not right in front of the person, why would they reinforce it? Well, tax are responses that are evoked by a particular object or event or some property of either one. Also, we reinforce tax of those around us, especially children, because eventually the information they give in a tact may later become useful to us. As speakers, we learn to tact private events by learning to connect external stimuli that are observable to the listener and are able to be reinforced by the mediator. Well, I just don't see how any of this makes sense. You're so vague. Oh, well, how do you suppose? Well, you open yourself up for criticism in quite a number of ways. Your intentions and your claims of validity are not well spelled out from the outset. You attempt to take away the last important piece of validation for mentalistic psychology and take over what we give to be true about speech. The processes by which you explain everything are not used their technical names. Chomsky, you just don't understand what this book was meant to be. An interpretation. Although my work is an interpretation, all the basic processes that I refer to are backed by empirically based research. Well, I still don't see how even a metaphorical interpretation of your book could hold true either. All the so-called principles in your book are not empirically based and do not have mentalistic properties. Chomsky, several of the points and accusations that you made did not refer to me or my book, but were other people's viewpoints and research. And one more thing. Several of the quotes that you pulled out of my book were taken way out of context. We will simply have to agree to disagree on this one.
Created using Powtoon.